Alan must have been one of the kindest men I've ever met.
He was very quick-witted. He was just a fun person to be around.
Alan started his career as a junior high social studies teacher. And then we realized that if we were to have a family, it would take both of us working all the time as teachers. And Alan took the civil service exam and did extremely well. And we ended up in Montgomery, Alabama at Maxwell Air Force Base.
I was a minister of music in the Methodist church system. And I met a young lady named Linda Streepy and her husband, Alan. Alan was a state employee and Linda was a school teacher, and she also was a fantastic keyboard artist. After I began my insurance business, we became very involved in doing long-term care insurance for educators. And one of our clients was the Autauga County Board of Education, where Linda and Alan were both employed.
Richard and his associates went into our schools and presented the program, and as a result of that, we had about 134 people to sign up that first year.
The policy that Alan and Linda bought was one that paid what was then the current cost of long-term care in Alabama. It didn't have any waiting periods, so it was first-day coverage.
I first started noticing that Alan had a problem when I would ask him to go upstairs and get something for me. And he would get to the top of the stairs and he'd say, "What was it you wanted?" Well, at first, you know, I thought this was just a husband thing about selective memory, and I accused him of it. And finally, one day he said, "No, Linda," he said, "I really can't remember." He must have been about 54 years old, and he was just too young to forget something 2 minutes later.
Within a very short period of time, Alan developed what the doctors referred to initially as galloping Alzheimer's.
He would become aggressive or angry. He was frustrated. He knew something wasn't right, but he didn't know exactly what it was. It was very frustrating. There were weeks of anger, and I would deal with that.
The deterioration was such that in May of one school year he was teaching school, and in September of that same year he had to have a full-time caregiver in his home, and he was placed in a nursing home. And after a fairly brief period of time, some few months, 6 or 7, he passed away.
The long-term care health insurance had paid for the caregiver, and when he went into the nursing home, and it started from the first day.
1 out of 2 people over 65 will have to have long-term care of some kind. It's now 1 out of 4 under age 65 will have some type of long-term care. If they're not insured, they're going to spend their assets.
If I had not had this help, I have no idea what I would have done.
From the start, the financial part was taken care of. We could just focus on the emotional part. We're able to enjoy our lives now. Mama doesn't have to work. She can choose to retire, which she did. Now she works doing what she wants to do.
There would have been no way that Linda could have retired early as she has, or been able to enjoy her grandchildren, had those funds not been available through the long-term care insurance policy.
It's a wonderful feeling to know that we were able to help even one of our employees, but I think in the long term it will help a lot of people.
You have to prepare for these kind of things. You know, you can save your money for a rainy day or whatever, but if you don't put some aside now, it's not going to be there when you need it, and to me this is like money in the bank.
I think Alan is very pleased with the insurance and how things turned out for me.